Hello, and welcome to Crocheting with the Classics. Today we're going to be doing a Victorian edging for a scarf, or comforter as it's otherwise known. This edging would also work on just about any pattern with a little adjustment, so you may wish to use it in other things. To start with, for this we're going to chain 3, and then we're going to single chain right here in the very front stitch to make a loop, but that's just for this scarf pattern. If you're doing a different edging, you may just want to not do the loop. I'll leave it to you to judge. Now, from here, we chain 1, and then skip a stitch and single chain in the top of the next stitch. And we're going to do that all the way across. Chain 1, skip a stitch, single chain in the top of the next stitch. In the background, you can hear a beagle who is absolutely convinced that the chicken that is roosting nearby is a threat to world peace. Possibly some sort of diabolical chicken terrorist in part of a network that nobody ever heard about. I've tried to convince him that she's not, but clearly the chicken looks suspicious. So right now we're just single chaining, chain 1, single chain, chain 1, single chain, chain 1, single chain, and you'll notice that on this pattern every single chain is aligning with the top of a puff stitch. So across we go. Chain 1, single chain, chain 1, single chain, chain 1, single chain, chain 1, single chain. Now there are 21 puff stitches on each row of this scarf. So at the end of it, you're going to have 21 single crochet stitches. Except, of course, for the very first loop. And then single chain in the last stitch. All right. Now for the next row, we're going to turn our work, and then we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then we're only going to be working in the spaces on this row. So here in our first space, we're going to single chain under that chain 1 space, chain 2, and then double crochet into that same chain 1 space. So what you get is a sort of altered V-stitch. Now we're going to skip the next space and go on to space number 3. So here again, we single chain, chain 2, and double crochet. So another altered V-stitch. Skip a space, single chain, chain 2, and double crochet. Now, you're probably thinking at this point, that would look all right as an edging, and it would. But apparently Victorians liked things a little more complicated. So there is actually a third row to this, even though this is making a lovely little rounded edge. So if you decide you like the little rounded edge better, I wouldn't blame you for stopping after this row. But we're going for authentic Victorian, so complicated it is. skip a space, chain 1, or single chain, then chain 2. Hang on, that looks like a chain 3. I'm a goofball. All right, then chain 2, there we go, and double crochet. Skip a space, single chain, chain 2, double crochet, and we're almost done with this row. Skip, and over here, single chain, chain 2, double crochet, skip, and then here, single chain, chain 2, and double crochet, and then skip, and here we single chain, chain 2, and double crochet. And then you see here we've got a space here and then the loop. So that's why this pattern calls for that loop there, because we're going to skip this space and work the very last one into this loop. So working into the loop, we're going to single chain, chain 2, and double crochet. So now, all the way across, we have these little spaces. Now we can turn our work. All right, so for the edging, in the very last row, what we're going to do here is chain 2, now that we've turned it, we're going to single chain under the first space of the last row. That's right here. So one single chain here. There we go. Now we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then in the second chain from this hook, so 1, 2, so right here, we're going to make a puff stitch. So to do that, we yarn over, put our hook through that second chain from the hook, pull through, yarn over, put our hook in the second chain through the hook again, and pull through. And now what we've got are 5 loops on the hook. Now if you want a bigger puff stitch, you can do this again and get 7 loops on the hook. But I like my puff stitches a little on the smaller side. I think they look cuter that way. And then we just pull through. Take the last loop on the hook that we had, pull it through all of them. So now we've got a little loop. And from this, what we're going to do is chain 1. And what that does is keeps the puff stitch looking puffy. And then we're going to do a double chain pardon me, I skipped a step. So once we've got the chain 1, we're going to We're going to slip stitch into the chain right below it. So here's our second chain from the hook. And then right below it here is where we're going to do our slip stitch. So here we go. 1 slip stitch. So now we've got a little ball on the end. And then from there, once we've got our slip stitch, we're going to double crochet into this loop part, the space that we originally started this from. So yarn over and double crochet. So what you end up with is a little standing bit with a puff on the end. All right, so for the next one, we're going to go to the next space and we're going to single crochet into there. And then from there, we're going to repeat the whole process. So 1, 2, 3, 4 chain stitch, and then second loop from hook, we're going to make a puff stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So 5 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all of them. This may be a little difficult depending on how tightly you did your puff stitches. I should have done mine looser, but oh well. So there's my little puff ball. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to slip stitch into this little stitch that is right below. So there we go, and pull through. And now that I've slip stitched, I'm going to double crochet into this loop here. So 1, 2. Then single crochet into the next loop. All right. So let's do one more example. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then yarn over, go into the second loop from the hook, pull through, well, yarn over and pull through, yarn over again, second loop from the hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 5. Then single chain and slip stitch here, right below where you put the puff. And then double crochet down to here, into the loop, and single crochet into the next one. And in a moment, I'll show you the finished edging on this. Okay, so this is what a finished edging set looks like. And you notice it's just little puff balls all the way across. Looks rather cute, I think. And apparently Victorians really liked this for some reason. Probably because of the cute puff stitches. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial and have a lovely afternoon.